Hello everyone and welcome to Poser's Full Movie Recaps. Today, we are going to watch a story about a woman who has an unbelievable ability to control all men with pheromones. She lures the wealthiest man she met and marries him, and when she found someone more powerful, she intends to dispose of her husband and attempt to use her allure to the younger guy. It begins in a small town in Kansas, where Clark and his friends attend their first day of sophomore year. At the time, they are in the middle of the worst heat wave in Smallville, and everyone is feeling the effect of it. Lana asks his friends to say some messages to her boyfriend Whitney, who has shipped overseas, as she makes a video letter for him. Chloe arrives fresh from Metropolis and her Daily Planet internship, and Clark tells her how much he missed her. Chloe tells him that she didn't write much, because she met a cute boy that made her forget about their small town all summer. As they head to the class, they meet their extremely attractive new biology teacher named Desiree Atkins, who is wearing small revealing clothes due to the heat and puts on a sex education video for the class. Clark tries to pay attention, but as a teenager, he can't help but keep glancing at Ms. Atkins when suddenly, the projector screen bursts into flames. All the students panic when the fire starts to spread, and they all run outside for safety except for Clark, who helps put the fire out. After everyone is evacuated, Lex Luthor, the local millionaire, drives up and rushes to meet his new fiancée, Desiree. Lex officially introduces Clark to the woman, who is surprised by the new development of his friend's status. Lex then gives Clark a wedding invitation for that night and asks him to be his best man. Again, Clark is shocked by how fast it happens for them, but he is happy for his friend as Lex seems sure of his decision. Sometime later, Lex asks Desiree to sign a prenuptial agreement before their wedding, and the woman agrees to do so. She then kisses Lex and releases a glowing purple substance into his mouth, and proceeds to ask if the prenuptial agreement is really needed. Suddenly, Lex's demeanor changes and he tears up the document while saying that it is not required anymore. As Clark returns home, he explains the fire to his parents and tells them that he might be developing new super abilities which causes it. Turns out that Clark is a superpowered teenager, and his parents are aware of it and suggest that he should stay close to home for a while, until they can figure out how he can control his affinity to fire. Despite his parents' advice, Clark doesn't want to let Lex down and serves as his best man at his wedding. At the wedding reception, Clark tells Chloe that she seems distant earlier when they met at school, so Chloe expresses her acknowledgement of Clark's feelings to Lana, and claims that even though he left her for the other girl, she understands Lana's life was in danger at the time. Clark accepts her explanation, as he doesn't want to talk more about his affection for Lana and his friendship with Chloe. To change the topic, they joke about how they feel about taking sex education from the new Mrs. Luthor and laugh about it. When Lex approaches Clark, he expresses his surprise at the sudden milestone in his friend's life, and Lex comments that he didn't plan on falling in love. It just instantly happens and it feels right. Later, Clark goes to the Talon with Lana, the local coffee shop being managed by the teenage girl. The two continue their video letter to Whitney and talk about how the man asked Clark to look after Lana. Lana admits that she feels uncomfortable about putting her life on hold while Whitney is away, and brings up Lex's recent wedding. Lana muses that the sudden wedding is a little strange, but she expresses her admiration of Lex for following his passion and suggests that someday, perhaps she and Clark can follow theirs. Suddenly, Clark feels that his new power is trying to burst out, so he uncontrollably sets the espresso machine on fire with a blast of heat from his eyes and singes the walls of the coffee shop. The two manage to put the fire out, but the event has shaken them, especially Clark. When Clark reaches home, his father finds him alone in the barn, and he announces that he isn't going to school because he doesn't want to set any more fires. He is upset that he has put people in danger, so Jonathan tells him that he will help him to learn to control his power. The next day, Jonathan sets up a scarecrow in an open field, and encourages Clark to control the fire by learning how to set it off. After practicing setting fire to several scarecrows, some water barrels, and the mailbox, he is able to control it well enough to hit a popcorn without even thinking of intercourse. As night comes, Clark continues his practice by lighting candles inside the barn when suddenly, Desiree shows up in his loft and tries to get frisky with him. She says that she likes younger guys like him, and adds that Lex is standing in the way of them being together, as she breathes a purple mist into Clark's face. However, Clark is unaffected and uncomfortable about the situation and tells her that he won't betray Lex's trust in him. Desiree seems embarrassed and apologetic and asks Clark not to tell Lex as she rushes out of the loft. At school, Clark tells Chloe what happened in the barn, but the girl is skeptical to believe him. They search the teacher's background and find out that Desiree Atkins is an alias, as she was born Allison Sanders in Smallville, Kansas. Clark decides that he will talk to Lex, as he thinks that his wife has some kind of unnatural hold on his friend. Unfortunately, Desiree has already talked to Lex and told her own version of what happened last night, which consists of lies and made-up story against Clark. When Clark shows up at Lex's mansion, the man is extremely angry at him and doesn't believe any explanation he says. He thinks that Clark is obsessed with his new wife, so he immediately demands that he leave his house. After Clark leaves, Lex asks Desiree about her real identity, but she says that she just changed her name as she changes it yesterday into Luther. When Lex insists to talk about it, his wife just sends some purple mist into Lex and says that it is all in the past now. Meanwhile, Chloe trades a message to Whitney, in exchange for an interview with Lana about the fire. They talk about Chloe's summer in Metropolis, and she admits that it was a mistake to indulge in her feelings for Clark by going to the spring formal with him, because she just ends up getting hurt again. She reveals that she made up the story about meeting somebody in Metropolis, and Lana assures her that Clark still cares for her. Chloe boldly counters that Clark simply cares for Lana more, and they both decide that in order to keep Clark from ruining their friendship, they will define themselves by what they do, instead of by who they date. Later, Lex arrives to inform Lana that he's closing the Talon in 24 hours, which extremely upset the girl since Lex is the main partner at the coffee shop. The next day, Lana tells Clark that she is getting evicted from the Talon, as Lex is using the fire to justify taking back the business. Clark then rushes to confront Desiree about it, as he knows that the woman is behind the closing of Talon. Desiree admits that she can control whomever she wants, and warns the young man of what she can do if she makes Lex turn his back on everyone in their town. But Clark is determined to uncover her deceit and tells her that he wouldn't allow it to happen. That night, Desiree blows up her own car, which is clearly planning something nefarious against someone. At Clark's house, he tells his parents what's been going on, but they are interrupted by Sheriff Miller, who reports that Ms. Atkins claims Clark blew her car up. He explains that he is to take Clark down to the sheriff's station for questioning, and the teenager reluctantly goes along with him. Before they head out, Jonathan assures his son that they will find a way to solve the problem. Sometime later, Martha goes to the Talon to look for Lana's aunt when she runs into Lex, and the man tries to express concern for Clark, but Martha shuts him down for his clear insincerity. She reminds him that Clark has been a true friend to him for over a year, and he's only known Desiree for a week. Jonathan takes a visit to Lex's mansion and arrives while Desiree is at the pool, who is swimming topless. Angry with her, he turns to leave, but she manages to catch him with a stream of purple mist, and the woman entices him to do her bidding and orders him to do something for her. Later, Lana and Chloe visit Clark in the jail and tells him Desiree's backstory, where she was with her boyfriend when the meteors hit, and the meteor rocks usually give people some weird powers when exposed. A few weeks later, Desiree's boyfriend murdered her own parents and she inherited everything that they own. A few years later, Desiree resurfaced again as a teacher, and one of her students finishes her wealthy husband in a jealous rage and again inherits everything her late husband owns. Unfortunately, she recently had some bad investments which causes her to lose all her money, and is now going after Lex. Clark figures that the reason she went after him was to convince him to finish Lex when suddenly, he remembers his father has gone to talk with Desiree, so he hatches a plan to get out of jail soon. After his two friends leaves, Clark sets out a small fire inside the station which triggers the fire alarm. When the sheriff let him out of his cell, he uses his super speed to run outside and find his dad. At the Luther mansion, Lex asks his wife why he feels so lost since meeting her, but the woman just answers that everything is final and all he owns are now hers. Lex tells her that she will only inherit in the event of his death, and asks if she is planning to eliminate him. Desiree opens the door and lets Jonathan get in with a shotgun, and tells Lex that he's the one planning to finish him off and not her. Under her influence, Jonathan shoots Lex, but Clark arrives in time to vaporize the bullet in the air, using his new power. Jonathan is undeterred, and Clark has to knock him against a wall to stop him. As Clark checks his dad, Desiree sets Lex's shirt on fire and tries to escape, but Clark heats the door handles to prevent her from escaping, and quickly put out the fire on Lex's shirt. Back home, Jonathan explains that Sheriff Miller is letting Clark go with just a warning, as the charges against him were dropped and Desiree has been taken into custody. Later, Lex goes to visit Clark and tells him that he is getting an annulment, and adds that he should control his feelings as well as Clark controls his for Lana. The story ends with Lana getting back the Talon, and tells Clark that she will become honest with her feelings to Whitney. After Clark leaves, she records herself breaking up with her boyfriend. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. You can also hit the notification bell and like the video to help the channel out. Thank you.